1 point splitting the top two in the World Championship. The World Champion looking to go back-to-back and looking to become the first man in the MotoGP era to defend the #1 plate has that 21-point advantage over Spain's Jorge Martin, whose mission statement this weekend is simple: go out there and ride as fast as he possibly can do. Sprint victory and Grand Prix victory is what he has to target as Bagnaia potentially goes into championship conservation mode. Maybe. That's a question that we'll pose Simon Crafar over the next 35 minutes or so. We're hoping to bring you pictures of the start-finish straight very shortly indeed, as the two contenders go face-to-face one last time before the action starts here in Valencia. And look at that, right on cue, there are our two contenders, the factory Ducati of Pecco Bagnaia and the independent team Prima Pramac Racing Ducati of Jorge Martin. I'm looking forward to this one, Simon. 21 points in it. Just firstly, what do you think we're in for this weekend?
Well, we know what Jorge's going to do. We spoke about it a little earlier. It's just pull the pin, go. And because he has to win both, you know, that's the mentality you got to come in here with. I think he had the same mentality at Qatar, but he still couldn't afford to fall off. Here, he's just got to go, run for it. And I think we're going to see that from FP1, from Jorge. On the other side, Pecco's side, he's got to stay on board just to make sure he gets those points. But he made a bit of a shambles of that last year. Yeah. And I'm sure he doesn't want to repeat that because it was stressful. Who wants to win a championship from middle of the field? Nobody, you know, it's a pride thing. I think to combat that, he's going to approach it like every other weekend. That is the way to get the best results. And, you know, that's how I feel it. So get out there and do your very best from the beginning. Put everything in place to have a good result. And if you have to be a little bit cautious in the race, sure. But don't go into the whole weekend conservative mode because it can go downhill quick.
Is it easier said than done, though, for Pecco to try and treat this as any other weekend? Because looking at this, it's not a normal weekend, well, and he knows that.
It's clearly not easy because we saw how it rattled him last year.
Yeah.
And I just believe he does not want to do that again. So, like I said, the best way to combat that is treat it like every other race weekend, get the best result you can. And sure, in the race, if there's a tricky situation, stay away from them. But otherwise, go.
Jorge Martin, speaking after Sunday, pretty much said, that's it, championship over. A few members from the team as well coming into this weekend, whether I saw them in the airport or on the way down or early on today, were saying the same thing as well. Well, we're not expecting much. There's no expectations. The championship's already finished. I know that that's all part of the game that they're trying to play, but in some regard, is having that low expectation, no pressure atmosphere within the box potentially going to help Jorge?
Well, I would say yes, you know, slightly yes. Not to load pressure on his shoulders because at the end of the day, the riders that are enjoying themselves normally are the best performing, you know. You do your best work when you're just out there enjoying riding the bike. And yes, it's never easy to ride at this level. It's very physical and you're right on the edge. But I think that's a good approach to take. Don't load any expectation on Jorge. Jorge, it's a almost impossible task, 21 points in one weekend, even though we've got 37. But Jorge, for sure, doesn't want to let go of the opportunity, and the way to do that is go in with the mindset of it's a one-off weekend. I've got to try and win both races, both the sprint and the race.
Is that job done for Pecco Bagnaia then? He jumps off his bike and Jorge looking to try and get his hands on the trophy. Not yet, Jorge. There's a lot of work to be done before you can get your hands on that Champions Tower. Simon, as a rider, can you just put into perspective what it must be like for those two guys to be so close, to be within reach of accomplishing their dream and becoming MotoGP world champion?
Well, the thing is, I can't say from first-hand experience, obviously. I've never fought this close for a championship. I think world championship-wise, 5th, I think is the closest I've been. So to have, I think the real special one that has extra proud is Jorge, because he's never been here before, fighting for a World Championship in the big class.
Yeah.
And he's already accomplished a dream doing that. So I think that's the most special. On the other side, so many champions say that it's so difficult to defend the championship. It hasn't been done by an Italian 2 years in a row,
since Valentino Rossi.
Since Valentino,
and nobody has defended the number one plate as well in the MotoGP era. The last man to do that was Mick Doohan, of course.
That's the stats that I heard. Yeah, now I understand where they came from. Well, the thing is, for Pecco, it's going to feel very special, and for the team, to accomplish that. But I still feel that this young man, it'll be extra special, because it's the first time for him, and it always is. First time is super special.
And to do it, if he is to do it, as an independent team rider as well, he would make history, becoming the first man in the MotoGP era to be able to win the World Championship, not being on a factory bike. Can you just put into perspective, just to get here within a chance, just what an achievement that is?
Well, Gino Borsoi was the one that really foresaw what was possible, because I sat with him in a lounge waiting to board a plane after testing, and I know Gino really well, and he's thinks so similar to me, and it's why we get on really well. It's so easy to speak, put it that way, communicate. And he put it across to me like that he is getting across to his riders coming into the season that you very seldomly have both the riders and the machine capable of winning a World Championship. And he was explaining to Johan Zarco and Jorge Martin, this is the opportunity we've got. So prepare everything. And so Gino foresaw it, and it's pretty much come true, meaning fight for the World Championship, which is what he wanted to do.
And Jorge listened as well.
Yes.
There's been such a huge change in his character this year. Pecco, of course, is looking to do it again, and he's once again proving to us why he's so good. But Jorge, a real change this year.
Yeah, that's very good, because when we had that conversation, I didn't know if Jorge would. Meaning I was saying to Gino, do you think you can get Jorge to understand that there's only a few times in you're lucky to get it at all, but a few times in your career where you can have this opportunity, don't let it slip by. And he grabbed it with both hands, which he can be proud of.
Right, we're going to talk in more detail in a few moments' time about the World Championship fight and what we can expect this weekend. But what a season we've had so far. 38 point-scoring opportunities. Quite remarkable when you take that into account, that the top two are only split by 21 points. Firstly, let's take a look at the season so far for the world champion, Pecco Bagnaia.
Lights out, and the MotoGP Sprint era is go here in Portimao. The world champion, the number one, is number one in the first ever TSO sprint race. Bagnaia wins the Grand Prix of Portugal. He takes the sprint win and the feature full-length race win. It's time to tango in MotoGP here in Termas. Bagnaia's gone down. Can you believe it? A big mistake. Limps home in 16th place. Pecco Bagnaia has crashed again out to the lead.
Straight back into third place.
Proper Ducati duel, this, isn't it? Surely the move now is coming from Bagnaia. The world champion is the front. There's going to be one corner left. Bagnaia, though, brilliant on the brakes. He wins the Spanish Grand Prix here in Jerez. Monumental pressure on this man's shoulders, but this time around, he seizes back control of this world championship. There is more sprint glory in Mugello then for Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion. It's Pecco on pole. 4 points clear in the title chain. In complete control, back-to-back wins in Mugello for world champion. He wins here. Another masterpiece from him in Mugello. 21-point championship lead over. They touch coming through the final corner. Front tyre on rear tyre for Bagnaia and Martin, and that could be key. So away we go here in Assen. He is going to take back-to-back wins here in the Dutch TT. And going into our 5-week summer break, it's a 35-point lead for world champion. Comes the world champion. It has been a Spielberg sprint stunner. No problemo whatsoever for the number one. Utter domination. Ducati reigns supreme once again here at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. A masterclass, an exhibition from the world champion. Welcome to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. There is big contact. Bagnaia has gone down.
Fender that runs over the leg of Bagnaia.
A red flag. We have got multiple incidents here. As the ambulance then makes its way back to the medical centre, of course. The green flag clearing at the back. Didn't get a good start. Bagnaia then does hold on for an incredible podium. Newest venue, India. You look at the turning of Bagnaia through turn 8 and 9. He's on the inside here, and he's picked up Jorge Martin. That was beautifully done by the world champion. Oh, Bagnaia! Oh, can you believe it? This has completely changed the complexion of this year's MotoGP World Championship. The Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia. Sprint magic for Martin. More significantly, he seizes the lead in the MotoGP World Championship. 7 points between Martin and Bagnaia at the top of the championship. Lowly 13th place on the grid.
Martin's down.
Oh no, Jorge Martin has crashed. Can you believe this? He's got the inside. This could be the key race-winning overtake. Then he comes over the line, but it's a monumental, a massive victory in Mandalika for Pecco Bagnaia and the defence of his MotoGP World Championship.
The definitive turning point.
Martin might even miss the payment. Bagnaia could be taking the victory. What an incredible last lap here. High drama in Phillip Island.
And have you ever seen Pecco Bagnaia happier with second place?
11 points between the top two riders. This is the title showdown we've all been waiting for. Bagnaia versus Martin, game on here in Malaysia. Bagnaia at lonely third place. He increased his world championship lead to 14 points over forlorn Jorge Martin. 7 points the gap between the two title contenders. Bagnaia has made the dream launch. It was a horror show for Martin, as he feared, off the line. On the inside, he squeezes through.
Bagnaia's fighting back though.
Wow, dearie me, and Bagnaia's going to the car park. This is just a battle he did not need to be engaging.
Take the 20 points,
did not need to be raging. Takes the checkered flag in second place. Pecco versus Martin, but the Valencia Grand Prix next weekend, it's all or nothing.
What a season it's been for the world champion. 6 Grand Prix victories, 4 sprint wins, 7 pole positions as well. He finds himself at the top of the standing. Simon, I mean, my first takeaway from that is, what a year we've had. I mean, wow, so many huge moments. Can we pick apart a few of them? At the start of the year, I mean, it started so perfectly for him in Portimao, and I think I wasn't the only one that thought, wow, we might be in for a long year here if Pecco can maintain this kind of performance level. But Argentina and Austin, those old habits that we've seen from 2021 and at the start of 2022 came back, and there were some huge questions asked of him.
I just think after watching that video, it's a reminder of how both of these, well, everybody rides on the edge in MotoGP to do. I mean, a lot of the circuits we've been to, lap records, 15 seconds faster race times over race distance, you know, with the same tyres. So I think that they're riding so on the edge that it's so easy to make those mistakes. And you look at it and you think, does anyone want to win this championship? Because there was so many crashes. It wasn't there, you know. So many times Pecco almost lost it at the championship. But then Jorge's made the same sort of mistakes. And then there's the tyre thing thrown in. That is a big talking point at the moment. And we've seen, like, at the end of Qatar, I was not a happy boy, as you said, because I wanted this to come to a head and have a proper fight between two riders, very close on points, and let's see who wins. I thought there was a good chance going head to head that one might fall, but it would have been good to see that battle, you know, for the end of the championship. But when you look over since then, I've looked over the whole championship, you know, and you go into it thinking, oh, that was unfair to Jorge. But then you look at the amount of times it's also happened to Pecco. You know, I can remember Silverstone, a couple of sprints like Qatar, and I think there was another one. Who knows what caused the crash in Barcelona? In the end, although we didn't get to see the fight, I think it's ended up, no matter what happens, it's pretty fair. You know?
Yeah, we may well see, and I think we hopefully will do this weekend. Let's touch on Pecco in particular then. We're going to see Jorge Martin's season so far in a moment, but for Pecco, for you, what are the big moments? We've spoken about the crashes, the mistakes that he's made, but for me, the biggest takeaway is every time that's happened, the character that he's shown, the mental resolve, that the following weekend he's back, and back by taking victory as well.
Totally agree with that. And when the weekend has looked really tough for Pecco, even like since the Barcelona crash, every Friday looked tough, and he had to work it out with his crew, figure out something. Saturday, you know, not win but do well, and then Sunday win. I'm like, he's stubborn, he's clever, you know, good with bike setup and working with the crew chief, and he's got some skill to come out and beat everyone on Sunday, and he did it so many times. Respect.
He was over 60 points clear following the Austrian Grand Prix when he did the clean sweep of pole position, fastest lap in the sprint, race win, fastest lap in the Grand Prix, race win. And we all thought that the championship was only going to go in one direction before, as you mentioned, that big crash in Barcelona. Given the fact that he was on the bike the next weekend, do we not give enough credit for his ability to go out and ride through the pain barrier, given what a horrendous, severe crash it was?
I was obviously there and felt how everyone, I mean, even the replay made me feel sick, you know. But like I did at the time, I saw you get good at this from years and years of racing, as quickly analysing if it's grave or not. And it was pretty obvious he had legs run over. And then you look at what is worse, is normally maybe some ligament, maybe a knee damage, maybe a fracture, but not grave, you know. And luckily it wasn't. And he bounced back for it well, you know, meaning he did great at Misano. Yeah. After that, it was quite amazing. But I think it had a lasting effect mentally to come back and be fast on Fridays and Saturdays. It always took a bit longer. I mean, only he will possibly know the answer to that, and they were obviously working on trying to figure it out so he could get back quicker. And we saw it at, what was it, probably only 2 races ago. He said, this is the first time since Barcelona that I've been fast on Friday, you know, back to normal. So yeah, he's been through a lot this championship.
Absolutely. Is the one race in particular that jumps out to you as being a big turning point, one that probably meant more than the 25 points he was awarded? For me, I mean, that
I think the one in Indonesia.
I was going to say the same.
Sunday, Indonesia. I'm thinking the same as you. And I think, well, he said it was to him as well, so important, because that was the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Have a tough Friday, a tough Saturday, and then come out and do something spectacular from what in the teens on the grid to
fifth row of the grid.
A quite dominant win. It was like okay, Jorge crashed out, but Jorge could go from pole, you know. It was an awesome ride, and yes, I would probably say the turning point.
And you think at the championship now, those 25 points, oh so valuable to see him now 21 clear. We're going to take a look at Jorge Martin's season so far in a moment. But as you can see, another photograph taking place on the start-finish straight at the moment with the Prima Pramac Racing team. Not only celebrating Jorge Martin as being the best independent rider this year and best independent team as well, but they've won the team's championship in MotoGP and become the first independent team to win that honour in the MotoGP era. Another remarkable year for the Pramac Racing squad. Of course, Jorge Martin doing what he has done this year, but Johann Zarco to take his first Grand Prix win as well, and all in Gino Borsoi's first year in the job. Wow, he's certainly set a benchmark now.
Yeah, and I think Gino put it the best, you know. You seldomly have, like I said earlier, both the machinery and the riders to have the opportunity to fight for World Championship. And Gino convinced them that this is the mentality to go through into the season, train, do everything you can to prepare, and they did. So I think Gino can take some credit. He should be in the centre of that. Yeah, the little guy, the shortest one there. Gino, he's an awesome fella. He's had so much experience. He was a good World Championship rider himself, and in the small class, tiny fella in pocket rocket. But like Johann Zarco said, he may be little, but he's a leader, you know, which is, saying a lot. I think they all respect him. Like I said, just to summarise though, great group, two great riders, and the machinery to back it up.
Absolutely. Could have been a bit kinder to Gino, though, rather than putting him next to Paolo Campanotti, who's like a big grizzly bear, is Paolo. A lovable grizzly bear, though, one of the big characters in the paddock. Right then, we've had a look at the World Champion season so far. Why don't we take a look at the season so far for that man, Jorge Martin there. In only his third year in MotoGP, he arrives here at the season finale with a fighting chance of being crowned World Champion, and this is why.
We're all set to go here in Portugal. The MotoGP sprint era is here. Lights out, the MotoGP sprint era is go here in Portugal. Jorge Martin takes second place. To go here in Portugal in the full-length feature race. Bagnaia gets squeezed by both Martin and Marquez.
It's Ducati Martin, is it?
We're underway here in Texas. Jorge Martin's gone down. Today, we're in Le Mans for the 1000th Grand Prix.
Martin, he's going to take second place.
There comes Martin. This time around, and he was close enough. He'll just slam the door shut for the first time in the sprint era. Jorge Martin wins.
Martin now does make the move.
Jorge Martin takes second. So Jorge Martin used the Ducati power, eases on through. He is now up into second place. But here he is then. Jorge Martin takes his second sprint in the last three. It's been great in Germany for the Martinator. He's our sprint winner here in the Sachsenring. But he wants the big one. He wants the 25 points. Lights out, full throttle, and we are underway. Here comes Martin then. He's going to hit the front for the first time.
Martin is quicker.
Oh, they touch! They touch! They come online side by side. Oh, inches in it. How close was that? But it's Jorge Martin who takes a Saxon ring stunner.
But Jorge Martin is halfway to turning this into a big weekend.
Martin leads, Bagnaia then in second place. Martin is the Mazzano maestro in MotoGP. He completes to close the gap to Pecco Bagnaia in the World Championship. Martin led every lap of the sprint in Mazzano. He led every lap of the inaugural Indian.
Yeah.
Can Jorge Martin complete a second consecutive double?
And
It's lights out and we are Grand Prix racing here in MotoGP.
push,
It's got a pull in there. They're both going to run wide, aren't they?
push.
Vital World Championship point at stake here for Jorge Martin. And what was another Super Saturday for Jorge Martin.
Bagnaia versus Martin. Martin now has a go at Pecco Bagnaia. Martin goes through.
Push, push.
Martin then leads.
Push, push.
Result declared here in Mategi.
Jorge, you won the Japanese Grand Prix.
Just 8 points behind reigning world champion Pecco Bagnaia. Sprint magic for Martin in Mandalika. He does make it 4 sprint wins in a row for the first time in his MotoGP career. He's the leader. Jorge Martin, a sensational barnstorming start from the world champion leader. Martin then leads.
Martin's down.
Oh no,
Top left
Jorge
of screen.
Martin has
Jorge
crashed.
Martin out.
Can you believe this? There is another massive plot twist in this year's MotoGP World Championship battle.
The shortest lead in history, less than 24 hours.
Martin versus Bagnaia with 18 points clear of Jorge Martin.
Martin going to the grid on the soft rear tyre.
Another titanic battle here in Australia. And Martin does make the dream start for pole position. Martin is just in a completely different level. Look at his tyres. This could be very much game on. Is there late drama building here? He does on the inside. Martin might even miss the podium. Oh, Bagnaia could be taking the victory. High drama in Phillip Island. Bagnaia increasing up to 27 points.
And push, push, push.
Look at this by Martin, he knows it's going to be really, really close. He's going to squeeze Binder out wide and coming through is Bagnaia. Martin completes the dream. Treble in Thailand. Sprint win and a Grand Prix win.
And it's down to 13 points between Bagnaia and Martin.
So here comes Martin. He's coming from a long way back. And they are going to have a proper rub there. And this, without any question, is one of the most important, one of the biggest victories of his Grand Prix career. 7 points, the gap between the two title contenders. Martin missed the start. He got massive wheel spin on the Prima Pama Ducati.
This could get so much worse yet for Martin.
A miserable night for Martin. Glares down at that rear tyre. Pecco versus Martin, but the Valencia Grand Prix next weekend, it's all or nothing.
So 4 Grand Prix victories, 4 pole positions, 8 sprints for Jorge Martin. Sees him second in the World Championship and looking to try and claw back that 21-point lead that Pecco Bagnaia has. I mean, firstly, Simon, the sprints introduced for the first time for 2023, and there's no doubting who's been the sprint supremo this year. 8 victories in the sprints. Without them, I don't think we'd be in this position. He's really taken profit of the new addition to the campaign.
And we all suspected it. Everyone that's been watching the sport for a while thought who is the most explosive, fast,
tailor-made
natural ability, unbelievable speed, Jorge Martin, and he pretty much proved it, you know, dominating those. But it's also why I wanted to see that fight last Sunday, because just watching that video, it was building up to be. I mean, I think it would have been either Jorge win it or be in the gravel. That's my thought. We didn't get to see it, but let's hope we see it this weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. When looking at Grand Prix victories, two instantly jump out to mind for me. The way in which he fended off Pecco in Germany, that was a big, big moment. And then in Thailand to fend off Bagnaia again and Brad Binder as well. At that time, given what had happened earlier at Phillip Island and in Indonesia, I thought that the tables had turned and the momentum was all with Jorge. I mean, that's just how much we've enjoyed this season. So many twists and turns, but those two Grand Prix wins, certainly for me, jump out as being Martin's biggest moments this year.
Yes, and also things like managing to win the early stopped rain race in Japan.
Yeah.
Because very difficult conditions to stay on the bike. We started to lose some riders before, like Gian Zarco, and it was very in the rain, it's very difficult to stay on the bike, when you're fighting and it's quite deep water. I mean, Jorge's done himself proud. I think everyone watching that video we just saw, he is so fast, so explosive. He's magic, and it's what we love to see, that pure speed and ability. And I look forward to watch him both Saturday and Sunday, and again next season, because you know what he's going to be aiming at next season.
You definitely feel, if it isn't to be this weekend, that one of the bigger reasons why he isn't world champion is to do with tyres. One, Phillip Island, where he took that huge gamble to go with the softer option rear, and in the end, the fine margins at this level of sport. He was one lap away, half a lap away almost, of making that gamble work. And then, of course, as you've mentioned, what we saw last weekend in Qatar.
It was so close at Phillip Island to working, but on the grid, I thought it was crazy because he had the speed to win on the same tyres, which was a safe move. It's easy to say now, but it's what I was thinking on the grid. And what I spoke to Piero Taramasso, he's like, it's too risky. Phillip Island has always been a tyre management race because it's so brutal on the left side of the rear tyre. And so I think that was a mistake, and although they obviously believe they could make it work, I just didn't understand why it was worth the risk. Easy to say afterwards, but so many, obviously you also mean the tyre thing on, we haven't heard from Michelin about this, so to be fair, we got to listen to Michelin's explanation or what they've seen. Obviously Ducati will have the data to tell us as well, but I think I best don't talk more about this because it's makes me mad. We didn't get to see the fight.
Of course, Martin in particular, speaking after the race, was pretty adamant, pretty clear in what he felt the biggest issue was. He, of course, was talking about the rear tyre that he had on, that he felt just didn't give him any performance right from lights out. He felt that mistake there off the start wasn't in fact a mistake, but was as a consequence of the tyre. And in the end, he was dropping like a stone and did well 10th to limp home and salvage, 6 points. But you do hope that isn't going to be the key talking point at the end of this season, because we've been treated to such a great 2023. Just before we head over to the press conference, let's get your final thoughts on the weekend ahead then, Simon. We know what Jorge has to do. He has to go out, he has to try and win both the sprint and the Grand Prix.
And I think he can.
Because of that, is the biggest risk for Pecco that he goes into championship conservation mode and just tries to do what he has to do rather than looking to compete right at the sharp end and pushing himself to the limit?
Well, I'd like to start by saying Jorge has grown. In this last year, there's been points where a year ago he would have crashed and he doesn't now, under big pressure situations. For example, Malaysia was one where he didn't feel the front anymore. He obviously got too much temperature following, which is nothing to do with tyre problem. It's just a fact that they get too hot, and he listened to it, he felt it, he made sure he didn't crash. So I've seen a real development in Jorge, but you've also got to say the same for Pecco, a real growth in him as well, handling things better. And I think because of that, he'll handle this one better. If the final with Valencia, where he didn't last year. So I think, you know, he doesn't have to fight like he did in Qatar. So, yeah, if there's a proper scrap, he may as well not get involved, you know, sit behind, go Jorge, but, you know, take second, whatever it is, take podium. But I think he's going to handle it a lot better at this pressure than he did a year ago.
I've said it before on Gear Up, and I think it tells the story this season quite perfectly. To do it once is a real showcase of your talent. To do it again is a real test of your character, and Bagnaia has certainly proven that this year so far. Right, don't worry, because if you're sitting at home thinking, yeah, but what about Marc Marquez's final weekend in Repsol Honda colours and Fabio Di Antonio winning a MotoGP race for the first time? We're going to talk about that. Don't worry, of course, we're focusing on the World Championship fight. That's all to come once we've given you this, the official pre-event press conference ahead of this, round 20 of 20 in 2023, with our two title contenders. It's Pecco versus Martin, and they're both with us chatting to Matt Burt to preview the season finale.